Okay, but riddle me this. Why would God use the stars to direct the three shepherds, the three wise men, or whoever they were, to find him at his birthing point? Why would God tell three wise men and give them directions based off of the stars if we were not supposed to believe in astrology? Did not God create the stars? Why did he only choose three to visit Jesus when he was born? And why only 3 gifts? Why would he not use numbers? 3 days and 3 nights before he rose. Didn't Lazarus die for 3 days before he rose him from the dead? And did he not stay in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights before he rose himself? Why would God not use numbers as a way of communication? Was it not him who used them in the first place? I'm just saying, like, we love to limit the way God communicates to us. We love to limit the way we can receive blessings and abundance. We love to put a limit on a limitless God. Because if we can't see the way out, then or that seems to be impossible. Did he not take Esther and turn her into a queen overnight? Our God is limitless. Yes, we will go through trials and tribulations. But does he not promise that he will bless you with his inheritance if we stay faithful to him? Not based off of what we see. We don't blame him for what we're going through. We rely on him to help us through it, because we don't live in a sinless world. We live in a world of sin. Therefore, we will make choices that are sinful ourselves, but other people will as well, and we cannot control what other people do to create our paths. I can't choose what happened to me, to becoming a single mom and doing all of this by myself for 15 years. I made the choice, a sinful choice, of getting pregnant before marriage. I made that choice, but that choice was made with another person, and that person was responsible for choosing whether or not they were going to help raise that child. We can't control the outcomes of other people in a sinful world. Yes, our own sins have consequences, but God will make all things work together for his good, for those who love the Lord. And that includes all of the life path choices that we find ourselves in due to our own sinful nature and the sinful nature of others. My own sinful nature of having a child before marriage, I have had nothing but favor through the fire that I have walked through. It has not been easy. It has been hard. It has been hard. The things I have seen and I have felt and I have gone through are imaginable to most people, even in my situation. They don't know my whole story. They don't know what I've had to face and endure alone. Because it, not just a single mom, but a single mom with a child who has had a lot of his own trials and tribulations. To keep him alive on this earth by myself was hard. However, throughout that time, I always had favor that God would provide what I needed. And I would always have favor that it's going to be okay, and that God loves me, and I'm okay. And I've always been able to have a positive outlook regardless of what I see in front of me, because of my faith and reliance on God and what he always does for me. And you can't tell me God's not real. When I see what I've made it through in my life, God is 100% real. The only reason I am here today, who I am today, is simply because of God. There's no other reason and rhyme for it. And it's because I don't limit what God can do. I have limited it, though, and I have realized where I used to limit God's capabilities for me, and where I was blocking my own abundance to start to come into my life. I was blocking it internally. God will give you God will give you his inheritance, but what you do with it will either keep you in a loophole, in a loop cycle of repeated patterns and behaviors of how you choose to either keep the inheritance or swindle it away. How easy it slips through your fingers, you know? But when you learn how to hold God's abundance, he begins to give it to you in larger amounts because you now know how to keep it. You don't feel guilty for having blessings and favor. You realize it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay not to give everything away. One of the tricks that the devil will give you is to make you feel like every time you see someone else who's in need, to give from your very last. And I've done that plenty of times. And anytime I feel the intuition to give, I do. But I have learned that I am not the bank for everyone, because when I do that, I run out and I'm in need. And who comes to help me? No one else on this earth but God does, right? But when I listen to God's intuition, and when he says, give someone your wrist wraps at the gym, give it to them. And I have an extra pair, so I gave it to a girl at the gym that I knew could use it. It was a blessing someone did for me once. I paid it forward to someone I thought could use it. What did I get? A TikTok sample of new wrist wraps getting sent to me for free. That's just one of the very small examples of how big God is. And he doesn't always do something massive. What he does is gives you the little nudges to listen to. You listen to those little nudges, and he will show you that when you give from his plate, he refunds you back tenfold. Okay? What you give when you listen to God, when he says, hey, give your last umbrella to this person. I don't always feel like I should give to everyone I see. I give them a smile, and I give them my time and my words. I've sat down with people not too long ago, 2 weeks ago. I was walking my car, I was walking to my car outside from a bar. It was, evening time. He said, do you have any money? And I said, honestly, I don't have a penny to my name right now, dude, but I do have time. I'm just here with some friends. I'm not buying anything. And so I said, do you want to hang out? I can talk to you for a bit. He's like, yeah, sure. So, I crisscross applesauce on the sidewalk in the dark by a bar next to this homeless guy, and we just talked to each other. I learned his name. I learned his friend's name. I was giving him my story, and I talked about all the things I've gone through in life and how sometimes I have some and sometimes I don't, but I truly do just want to give him my blessings and my inheritance that God has over me, and I will pray for an abundance and a windfall for him. You know what I mean? And he actually felt very touched by that experience as well, and he was like, I can't believe he said this and that, because I've always thought about this and that too, and he was just like, this was the best conversation I've had in a while. What I'm saying is, I don't always have money or items, materials to give, but I have who I am in my favor, that God, that comes over me, blesses those who touch me, right? No. The abundance and the favor that God pours over me, pours over the ones that I cover underneath my umbrella, because my umbrella is being held by God. Does that make sense? It makes more sense. But if what I meant by touch me, I was thinking about whenever that woman touched the hem of Jesus' garment and she was healed. Since God's covering is over me, those who are in my presence, those who I share that light with, therefore get his blessings. And I pray for them on the daily. I pray for the cats on my porch, because they are on my covering. They are on the covering and the protection that is over my family, and I have adopted them into my family. Anyway, this was a rabbit hole of thought processes. I don't know everything, and I don't claim that I ever will know everything. That's the simple joy of being a human on this earth. But I do know that I don't limit what God can do to communicate with me. I don't limit what God says to do to listen to my intuition. And I don't limit what he can do regardless of the circumstances I see myself in today. Because if I know anything about God, is that his ability is far greater than anyone else's here on this earth. He will motivate other people on this earth to create those opportunities for you. And that's how the whirlwind opens up, as long as you're open to it.